Hi, this is Rolf from Tesla Owners US, and today we have John here, and we have a very interesting story about a Roadster and how it got sold. And that, well, you see after this.
I pressed and say, I went and said.
So, I met John long time ago, and probably you know the story already. That is, we had one of the first Model S's, that is Martina's car, and John had one on order in Model S, and he wanted to have a test drive, and you test drove the car.
Yep.
And now when I talked to him, I noticed that he actually had more Teslas than I had, and even he had. And now it's your turn. You had one of the EV1s, right?
I did. I drove an EV1
Yeah.
at the end of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it in 1998.
Yeah.
And in 2001, they came and took it away from me and crushed it.
Oh, that was
And that story can be read, it can be watched in Who Killed the Electric
car. Yes, and the place of shame is here in Arizona, in the proving grounds of General Motors. Mm-hmm. And I still have some footage of that as well. There's now houses being built there.
Oh.
Because I went to that proving ground one time because I was so mad. And I looked around, and they already took all the asphalt off from the test track there.
But I did keep the charger.
Yes.
They tried to take the charger away from me
Yeah.
too, and I told them I paid cash for this charger, and you can't have it.
Yes.
So,
that was the old
a
pedal
little piece
charger.
of EV history in my backyard.
Good. Now tell me about all of the cars what you had now. So you had the 2013 Model S, right?
I had a 213 Model S, right? It was an 85, and kept that for a few years. Sold it to a friend of mine's boss. And bought a 2016 90D Model S.
Which the hardware, with the new hardware, with autopilot and
It
so.
did not have the 2.0.
That did not
so
have
it was right in the middle of that. So I got the new front,
Yes.
but I didn't get the hardware.
So you got the new front, but 1.0 hardware.
That's correct. And then I got, at the same time, got my wife, leased her a 2016 Model X 90D.
Yeah, it was a red one also, right? Or,
No, it was a white one.
That was a white one.
It was whatever the white, pearl white.
Yeah, pearl white, yeah.
Yeah. And we also got the white, seats.
White seats, white interior,
Yeah.
white on white.
White on white.
Yeah.
And then carbon fiber on the interior. So it was a cool car. And then, so that was a 3-year lease.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of of 2018, I got one of the long range, Tesla Model 3s, and the purpose of that, the goal of that was
Yes.
to get the car, take it on a 6,000-mile road trip with my son, and then sell it.
Yes.
And keep the Model S.
Yeah.
And what happened is, at the end of the trip, I realized that the Model 3 was a better car, and so I sold the Model 3,
Yeah.
and at that point, the performance car was out. So
Yeah.
traded in the Model S, and got the
performance
car.
Yeah.
But also at the end of that trip, picked up a Roadster.
Yes.
I had never had a Roadster, and I wanted to be able to say that I'd had.
You had a Roadster.
I had a Roadster. I already had all the cars, right?
And I show you some footage of that Roadster because I found out that was the Roadster just next to my white Model S, where we had it at one of the regular car dealer, and actually, unfortunately, he was not capable to sell any of those. And there were many reasons for that one. One of the reasons was, for example, I called in also John and said, hey, John, he listed that car with 362 horsepower and it has 758 or something, twice as much. And some of the technical data were not right. And they were really not so interested in doing anything. Oh, he did not also charge me for that I had the car there for 2 months. and he kept it also charging. That was good as well.
Yep.
So, but it was a regular car dealer he was not interested of selling that car, and there is a big shift, and that's why probably also Elon has his own way of distributing and selling his cars, because you cannot sell that with a regular car dealer. So we tried both of the cars there to sell.
Right.
And we had it there probably 2 months, right? What I guess, or longer?
Yeah, a couple of months.
Yeah.
A couple of months, and tried a wide variety of ways to do it. And there, a lot of people did come and look at the car, but
Yeah.
you know, again, the problem was, one of the problems was that if you buy a pre-owned car from Tesla, they do a full inspection on it. They put more miles, you know, they give you more miles and stuff like that. So it's you can't compete so well in a private sale.
Yeah.
So and I think they do that for one reason, is to keep the price up, the resale price.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I picked up the Roadster, and it had low miles on it. I mean, really low.
How many? What
There was like 1,300 miles on it.
That was nothing. It's
And
just
it
drove
had-
out of the garage.
Yeah, 1,300 miles. It had 900 miles on the battery, though. So the guy bricked the battery.
Oh,
That owned it.
so
And
bricking is really. I told it in a video before. Is you drop the car as low and you never plug it in, and then the car consumes energy more and more,
Yeah.
and it will deplete the battery to a situation that with regular charging control system from the Roadster, you cannot recharge it anymore.
And I think he had it parked in a garage, and
didn't plug it in.
and didn't put it in storage mode, and it just zeroed out. So he took it to Tesla and got a new battery for it, or a reconditioned battery. So,
Reconditioned battery, yeah. They
and that was as of April of last year. And so I got the car with 970 miles on the new battery.
Wow.
And so the guy drove it and then decided to sell it. So he put about 1,300 miles on the car.
Yeah. I might show you some pictures or some footage here while we are talking. And
Right.
It was a
And then-
pretty nice red car. What was the interior of that car?
It was, you had to ask me that.
I think, was it black or was it beige?
I know it was black.
Black.
So it was black interior, and
Yeah.
it had Tesla seats, that said
Yeah,
Tesla
that
on
with a logo on it, with
Yeah,
Tesla's
right,
sign.
yeah, and it had the carbon fiber instrumentation like you
Yes.
have on your car, and it was red, beautiful car.
Yes.
And it was in great shape, and so we took it and we put about 1,000 miles on it.
Oh, that's nice. So,
Yeah,
so
we
a
had
little
the-
bit
did the experience
Sunday
of owning
drive
it,
and so on, yeah.
and such. And so the seventh, the newest car is my wife got we traded in her leased car.
This car, and then you bought a Model X,
Yeah.
a 100D?
100D.
Oh, 100D, yeah.
100D. Yep.
Yeah. Color, same thing?
It's red.
Oh, this time it's red.
Now
That is the most expensive color, by
Now
the
we
way.
have 3 red Teslas. We have my red Performance Model 3, which
Yeah.
we have the red X, and now we have a red toy Model S.
Yeah, that is only 2.5. So, then you had an idea. Said, "Hey, now I have
wife-
another." And then you said, "Okay, good. Now I have another red one, which was the Roadster, was
Right.
in red, and it was just too much, right?"
Well, so we have a 3-car parking garage, and to keep 3 cars charged, well,
Yes.
and my daughter also has a Chevy Volt.
Yeah,
So-
they need to be plugged in
Has
as
to be
well.
plugged in. So
Yeah.
so we really didn't have room for another car, a 4th car.
Yeah.
So I was constantly having to move the cars around, to keep them plugged in. I realized that really can't keep the Roadster. It's not really a good, road tripping car for me. And it has the most potential resale value.
Yes.
And so that's when I took it to Autowitz and tried to sell it, and then had found no success. And I was offering it for for about the same I paid for it, a little bit more. And because I really thought there was a value there in that, the low miles. And so my wife came to me and said, why don't you take it to Barrett-Jackson, which is a...
yeah, most of the Americans know Barrett-Jackson. It's an auto auction.
Yeah.
And very distinguished cars, most fuel cars, are coming there and they are selling it.
Yes.
Selling their cars there.
Yeah. And so I contacted Barrett-Jackson, and they said they had sold one previous Tesla, a Model S.
Yeah.
And they said, with your low miles, they didn't even realize the difference between the Roadster and the Model S. I mean, they were so new to it.
Yeah.
So I said, well, this is a Roadster. It's the original car, that sort of thing, and it's got low miles. And they said, well, we think we can sell it for more than the $60,000 that we sold the other one for, which the other one was a Model S. So it's not even
that's not even comparable.
It's not even comparable. And the auction rules had changed this year. They decided to go all no reserve, so you could not put a reserve price on the car.
So
this
that is
really,
a risk. That is a big risk.
Roll the dice, right? I had no idea. So they said, in their experience with all their years of doing auctions, they had discovered that having no reserve was a better guarantee of a higher price. It's sort of when you put the price down. When you say there's a reserve, then it keeps the price down lower and closer to the reserve price.
Oh.
So I decided
to go with no reserve.
To go with it. These are very knowledgeable people. They've been doing these auctions for a very long time.
Pete Gruber told me that was a high risk.
Yeah.
Because if you have no reserve anymore, only for very super luxury cars they might do a reserve now, or for very rare ones, but this one was a high risk.
It was high risk for me, yes.
And now the story comes now. So on the day on that weekend before the auction, I get a phone call from John, and John said, "Hey, I just sent you a picture. Can you look at that?" And the picture showed a little puddle next to his rear right wheel, and I said to him right away, "Oh, it's cooling liquid from your batteries. So watch that you don't lose that cooling liquid and you run your battery hot or empty while charging, and there's no cooling liquid in there."
Yeah, and without Rolf, who basically saved the day. I mean, he got a hold of Peter Gruber.
Peter then, and I show you some footage of that as well. I actually built this. He took his tools and then went out. And how it is for electric car support, it needs to be electric, right? In the best car possible. So I made a contact, we made a conference call with Peter and said, "Peter, that must be somewhere cooling liquid.
Yeah.
Can you take a look at that?" And then Peter said, "Okay, I have to do it right now because the next day after, this was at 11 o'clock on the stand to be sold, right?
Yes,
to be on the auction."
Yep.
So, and we said, "We got to do something." And Peter said, "Okay." And then I'm pasting this story now. Here comes the story from the Gruber side. And this is Peter Gruber. And one day I called him very late at night and I said, "Hey, friend, John has a problem with his Roadster. And he has some leak." And I forwarded him the picture. And the picture was a leaking just at the rear driver's side and there's some liquid. And I said, "This liquid must be liquid from the cooling system." And that was probably right.
Oh, yeah.
So Peter, so we connected, I connected him in a conference call, and the Barrett-Jackson show was on the next day. His car was on on the block.
At 11 o'clock.
At 11 o'clock the next morning. It probably was sold a little bit later. So, but it was in the night, the day before, was leaking. He sent me that picture, Rolf, what I can do. And said, the only chance is you call Gruber, let me connect you with it. So then we went out, and so we had a conference call, and we talked about that. And then he said, okay, let me get my stuff, I look at that. And he drove out. So basically he took...
Yeah, I grabbed some tools.
Some tools, some toolbox.
And sure enough, when we got there around 8 o'clock, there was the puddle under the car. And we traced the... It was definitely coolant that was leaking on the ground. Traced that all the way up to the coolant bottle. And this is actually his original bottle. And we found that underneath this nipple right here, there was a little crack. And we've since glued the whole thing
together, back together again.
Right.
Yeah. So that little crack was enough.
That it was
the cooling
just
liquid coming out,
leaking
right?
like this. And so if you would
it's dripping
slightly
out.
move it, it would drip a little more. So the next morning, I brought an extra hose just in case it was just a crumbly hose, because it looked like when I had looked on our parts roadsters, that could be a problem, that the hose could be the issue.
Yeah.
And then I brought an extra tank and bottle just in case it was the bottle that was cracked. And sure enough, that's what it was.
So, and I was actually unsure if really Tesla has that part available there, but I knew that the guys from Gruber, they have a couple of roadsters there, and said, hey, do you have one of those containers and those tubes there? They are available. And then he took his toolbox, so he went out, and here you see that is still the Barrett Jackson passport.
Yep.
Yeah, Barrett Jackson Shore, and that is for support, vehicle support.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. In the back, they have a few lifts. I think there were 3 or 4 lifts in the back.
Yeah.
And you could roll your car in, work on it, and send it back out. There were a couple of cars that were in there. One was stuck in high gear, and when they went to start it to take it back to service it, they ended up lurching forward and hitting the car in front of them. So 2 cars were stuck back there that they were looking at.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, they had a whole mess of tools. They had lifts, and you could service your car.
And then you took your tool and then went out to your service car.
Yep. I went out with tools, blankets, and
yeah, and then
I've got pictures I can send you.
Oh yeah, send me some pictures. I'm gonna put the pictures then in the movie with the pictures what you have there with the tools and how you found it there. And then you went out to the service car, and then you showed up there the next day again,
yes,
right?
8 a.m.
So 8 a.m. Bright and early, because 11 a.m. was the due time.
Yeah, so we were moving as quick as we could. We got the car over there, and yeah, it was about half hour, and it was done. Pretty simple job.
Yeah.
No more leaking, and we refilled.
And he sold his car there, and the story here in between is where he sold his car.
So let's go back to the auction.
Yes.
The auction day. Well, I will say that Peter came.
Yeah.
And the next day fixed the car before the auction, which was great.
Yeah.
And so I brought the auction. I brought the car to the auction.
Yeah.
And sat in a tent. So there were something like, I forget how many cars were at the auction, something like 1,600 cars.
Yes,
at this auction. A huge thing. And we were all, so I got to know the other cars. I was sitting next to a vintage 54 Corvette.
Yeah.
And a bunch of a guy next to me with a GTO. And another couple of guys with some vintage power wagons.
So all of those
power wagons.
So all of those cars are really stupid cars. It
doesn't matter,
But it doesn't matter, right?
This is an auction that brings car collectors in.
Yes, car collectors.
And it was very interesting. Each day, who those car buyers were. I mean, a lot of them were farmers from the Midwest. It was really interesting, and they collect cars.
Wow.
So that was really interesting. But I was there every single day. Mm-hmm. I brought a chair and I sat next to the car and I answered questions and I told people about the history of the car and the history of the company. And Tesla had a booth inside the big area where they had the other car. So at that time, I was not only talking about my car, I was talking about Tesla in general.
Yeah.
And people were very interested.
You're promoting Tesla at that location.
Always, right? I always promote Tesla. I think all of us who own Teslas promote Tesla.
Yeah.
So, but and a lot of people had questions. I thought I got a recommendation from some folks on the Facebook pages to really talk about that Elon Musk sent his Tesla Roadster Sport into space, so I talked about that a lot. And,
and then to buy this one is still here.
I actually sent a tweet to Elon the night before the auction. I said, "Here, you can buy a replacement car for your." Nobody knows what we were going to sell our cars for. All of us in these tents.
Yeah.
We're saying this is no reserve auction, so we didn't know if we would get what we hoped to get for it.
Yeah.
And there was another Tesla also. There was a silver 2008 Tesla Roadster.
Roadster.
Oh,
yeah.
And that was going to go before me in the auction, and it was a consignment. So what happened is the owner sent the car and consigned it at Barrett Jackson, but did not was not present for the auction.
Okay.
And so that one sat in the main building where you're not allowed to touch the car, you're not allowed to sit in the car or anything. For me, I had the car out there every time and there were a lot of people coming by and looking at the car. The only people I let sit in the car were people who were serious bidders. They had to have a bidder badge.
Yeah.
Or they had to tell me that their bidder badge was in their pocket and that they were really, because they didn't want everybody to know they were a bidder. So they would, but they said they were definitely going to bid on the car. So I really worked it, every single day. I think I spent with 5 bidders. I spent probably at least an hour with 5 bidders. One I spent 4 hours with. So I think that helped. If one of them did not get the car eventually, I think it made I made the price bid up because others were bidding on it.
Yeah.
I have no scientific information on that, but and I have a video if you want it for the entire bidding process.
Yes.
I can share with you.
So should we put that here in between as well?
Okay.
So we put the video now in between for about the complete bidding process at the Barrett Jackson show.
0.1 2010 Tesla Roadster Sport has 2,100 actual miles powered by its 370-volt AC induction air-cooled electric motor with variable frequency drive. Also has an automatic transmission. Bid 100 grand. If it get down, Bob, get about 100,000. If it get down, Bob, get about 10, 20. If it get down, 20. If it get 20, if it get 20, if it get about 10, 20. If it get 20, if it get 20, 30. If it get 30, if it get 5. If it get down 30. If it get 25, if it get down, if it get down, if it get about 30 grand. At 30 grand. If it get down 30, if it get 5, 35, if it get 40, if it get 35, if it get 40, if it get 40, now 5, if it get about 45. At 45, 45, 50, if it get down 50, if it get about 55. At 55, 5, if it get down 55, if it get about 80, if it get about 54,000. This garage's entire non-driving life, it's going to include lots of extras, including the Tesla 2 charging adapters. 55, now 60. If 55, it get down 60. If 55, it get down 60. If 55, it get down 60. If it get down 7, now 60. If it get 50, 7, it get down 60. If 57, it get down 60 grand, 60 grand. If it get down 50, 7, it get down 60. If 57, roll her out, boys. Here, they get about 50, 7, it get down 60. If 57, it get down 60. If 57, it get down 60. If it get down 2, if it get down, if it get 2, 2, 5, 5, 5, 60, 2, 5. It's 60, 2, 5, 60, if it get 5. It's 60, if it get down 5, if it get down 5, if it get down 5, if it get down 2, if it get 5, 60, if it get 5, 60, if it get 5. It's 60, 2, 60, 5, 60, if it get 5, now 7, 60, 7, it get 67. It's 60, 7, it get down 7, it get down 7, it get down 67. Last is 70 grand. You're late, you gotta be 70. If it get 8, 70. If it get down 70 grand, 70 grand, 70, it get 70. Now 2, you're late, 2, 5. It's 72, if it get 5. It's 72, if it get 5, 5, 5, if it get in 2, if it get down 5, if it get 2, 5, 5, 5, 7. And now 77, 80. And now 80, if it get 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 80,000. And now 82, if it get down 82, 2, 2, last is about 80.
Then
I got it.
Happened?
So on the bidding on the day,
right.
And once Peter had finished fixing the leak and replacing the
container, there was a container with that tube there.
In it. Yeah, and the tube.
Fluid and the tube.
He replaced it. And so I had they send an official driver to drive your car, but you're given the option to drive it yourself up into the auction. So I drove it, and there's 3 places along the way where you stop, where they arrange all the cars. There's 3 lines of cars and that sort of thing. And as I moved from those 3 positions, people could come and look at the car and ask about the car and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And all the ice guys, I call them ice jockeys, but
Yes.
they were all coming up and say, hey, rev the engine for me, I'm laughing, I laughed along with them.
Yeah.
And
I have an app for that. I play a sound, and I said, which one do you want to have? Ferrari, Lamborghini, and so there's an app for that for motor engines. So I run that app through my phone, through the sound system, and then I can rev it. So you can have Porsche, Lamborghini, and whatever you want to have there.
Fun.
Ferrari.
So I got through, and the silver one was in front of me, and I saw it go up on the auction block, and I watched the numbers go, and the Hammer sold at 40,000.
Oh, that was not a lot.
And I was looking to get, I wanted to.
But the silver one had more miles, and it was a little older one as well.
Yeah, it was 2008, and it was not a Roadster Sport.
It was
And
not
it
a
had
Roadster
13,000 miles on it.
And 13,000 miles on
13,000, yeah.
yes.
I can send you the links to the 2 things so you can post those as well. But so so it went up on the block and closed at $40,000, and then I drove up onto the stage.
Ooh, that's not a good omen when you just go on the stage.
But I had a lot going for me. It was red, not silver.
Yes,
Right.
And people like red cars.
People like red cars.
Like you.
Right, and actually I had a few bidders come up to me, while I was out in the tent and saying to me, a Roadster should be red. So
it probably I'm gonna repaint my black Roadster into red before I'm selling it. A nice red.
Right, and I had also had the car detailed before the trip, so it was before we went up there. It was very clean. I had Bulldog in Scottsdale.
Yes, Bulldog.
They did a fabulous job,
yeah.
and so they started running the numbers, and the other thing I had going for it had low mileage.
Yes,
so it had 1,237 miles on it. 2,137 miles on it.
Yes.
And it had, it was red, and it had, and it was a very clean car. And I had taken the lid off at that point, so it was sexier looking.
Yes, yes.
And the silver one did too.
Did you have a hard top for that, or no?
I had a hard top, but what they do is they wheeled the hard top out onto the stage. Same for the silver one. It also had a hard top.
Yes. Okay.
So the bidding started, and I was it's like all these lights on you. So, and there's a screen and all, and I really couldn't see, I was trying I was watching that, and then I had to get out of the car so that the driver could get in to drive it the rest of the way through the stage. I wasn't paying attention. And then all of a sudden I hear this, sold for $85,000.
Oh! So
I was feeling really good at that point.
Were you happy? Let me say that way.
I was very happy.
So
at that point, and just so you know, the bidders pay more than that.
Yes, they pay the bidding fee, the auction fee, and
so the
dealer fee, and so on.
The winning bidder for that red Tesla Roadster Sport, paid $93,500.
Okay, but that was the Tesla Sport. Was it the 2.0 or 2.5?
2.0.
2.0. So between 500 and 1,000 VIN number. So that's approximately.
It was number 622.
622 VIN number.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's for the archivars. There are some on a club. There are some people who are archiving or recording where the car goes and from where to where. So 622 VIN number, and it went to. You don't want to say the owner, I understand, but went to what state? Can you say the state?
It went to Texas, and I can tell you a little bit about
Texas,
the owner.
Texas, or the oil state.
I left. Yeah, exactly. I left my business card.
Yes.
With the auction office, and I said if this guy, the buyer, needed help putting the roof back on, that I'd be available, and just have him call me. And so he called back a few days after the auction and said, yeah, he was having trouble putting the hard top back on.
Yeah.
So I drove in there and helped him. And this guy was the the successful bidder's agent, so he was not the successful bidder himself. But what he did tell me about him, which was interesting, is that he was a collector, a car collector. He bought 8 cars at the auction.
Oops.
And he did not buy the silver one.
Yes.
And he had 5 other Teslas. So he was also collecting Teslas, which was interesting.
Yes.
So he collected a lot of cars, and he bought other vehicles. You know, he bought cars and he bought a truck and that sort of thing. So, but he was also a reservation holder for the 2020, the new, the Roadster.
The new Roadster.
The new Roadster.
Yeah.
And he wanted to have an original Roadster as part of his collection. So
yes. So he did not have an original Roadster. Now he has.
now he has it.
Now he has one.
So it was good. It's a great experience if anybody else wants to sell a car, and if your listeners want to sell a car at Barrett Jackson, I'm happy to talk to them. So
Yes. Okay. Good. So I'm gonna link you up if someone is interested in selling a car on Barrett Jackson. But this year it was a risky situation.
It was.
So you could have sold your car for 40 and then would have made a loss, right?
that would have been a loss, yes.
It would have been a loss.
But I was pretty confident in its value. I mean, and I talked when I got back to the tent, because the different tents, we all auctioned our cars on the same day. So I ran into the guy with the GTO next to me, and he got $86,000 for his, which made him very happy as well. So everybody I talked to sold their car for a good price and made money.
Good.
And these people brought cars from all over the country. So
yeah, this is Barrett Jackson is kind of a famous location now.
5,000 bidders, and that are there, and the ability to bid online. So
So in the live stream online, you can say, "Hey, I bid for this, and so on."
yeah. So where else are you going to sell your car? So think about it. We tried online. We tried at the Tesla sites. For sale by Tesla.
Yeah.
When we put it on at AutoWits, it went out to everything, Carfax and all these different
There are different
Edmunds
ways,
and everything. So it went on all those things, and it ran on all those pages for a month or two,
Yes.
right? And they couldn't sell it. But I took it to Barrett Jackson for a no reserve auction and got more than I expected. So
Wow. Good.
there you go. It's a good deal.
That's a good deal.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, I would say thank you for that nice story, and we were lucky this time.
Yes.
And
I wouldn't call it lucky. I think I was convinced the car was going to sell.
Good.
For a good price.
Good. Hey, John, thank you for that interview.
You're welcome.
We might have another interview. Okay.
Sounds good.
And
always available.
subscribe to the channel. Click if you like it. And if you have any questions, put it down there. All right? Talk to you next time.
I pressed and say